You're listening to the Home Staging Show podcast. I'm your host, Cindy Lin. This is a show where we talk about all things real estate, home staging, and selling your home to live and to sell. Welcome back to Season 7. This is Episode 9. Our show is brought to you by the Staging Assistant. It's more than an inventory system. Manage your leads, your proposals, your clients, and your stage houses on your desktop, tablet, or phone. With the Staging Assistant, you will know what you own, where it is, and when it's returning quickly and easily. Create your design and packing list from the comfort of your home so you can hit the ground running when you go into your warehouse. Created by stagers, specifically for stagers, is the only tool you need to manage your growing staging business. For more information, visit stagingassistant.com. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Home Staging Show. So on today's episode, I'm really happy to interview Denise O'Berry, who's a small business and cash flow expert. She's the author of Small Business Cash Flow, Strategies for Making Your Business a Financial Success, a book about how to get, manage, and keep your cash flow on an even keel and where it belongs, in your business. She's a small business owner since 1996. She's worked with hundreds of small business owners over the years and is inspired by their enthusiasm and ability to overcome huge obstacles. So during this episode, she shared many valuable tips about pricing your work, dealing with client objections, cash flow issues in a small business, and how to make sure your business has a healthy financial. So if you're struggling with pricing and managing money for your business, I highly recommend this episode for you. So next week is our Q&A episode. So if you have any questions about home staging or running a home staging business, leave your question below in the comment section or send me an email through our website. So hi Denise, thank you so much for coming on the show this week. I'm very excited to interview you since you've written and published a book about small business cash flow and you're an expert on this. And I feel that one of the biggest obstacles I've seen with stagers building their businesses is that they don't understand how money works. So before we can start talking about cash flow, can we talk about how money works in a small business?
Sure. So, money is coming in and out of your business all the time. So it's got to be flowing back and forth in order for you to have a viable business. And what's the problem for most small business owners as far as how money works in their business is as soon as they start thinking about money, they start thinking about accounting. And then when they start thinking about accounting, they start thinking about math. And it shuts most people down. And that's what's really exciting about cash flow, because cash flow is not about math. Cash flow is about the story of your business and the health of your business. Your cash flow tells when things are working well in your business and when things aren't working so well in your business. So it's really a mindset shift, but that's one of the reasons why so many small business owners struggle with how money works in their business, because they automatically start thinking math and then they go, ugh, I just don't want to go there. So hopefully we can shift a few of those ideas during our conversation today.
I think that's really interesting. You phrase it as a mindset. And I think that's actually really important, because I think you brought a really good point, is that when people think about math or accounting, they just automatically shut down, especially I think in creative businesses, because most creatives don't like to deal with money, don't like to deal with logistics. And so when they hear stuff like that, they do shut down and they have this fear around learning about their finances.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing that's so amazing about it is if you don't pay at least some attention to the money in your business, you're not going to be in business for very long. Because number one, you got to have money to live. I mean, that's the way our society is. So, if we made our living by collecting chickens, then we'd pay attention to chickens. But that's not how we do it. We make our living by having money. And so if your business isn't bringing in the appropriate amount of money to support the business, make sure that the business runs properly, and to support you so that you can have the lifestyle that you want, then you can't have a viable business. It just doesn't work. Ask any business that's gone out of business or failed, and they'll tell you cash flow was the reason.
So what exactly is cash flow?
Well, cash flow it's really pretty simple. There's like three things that have to do with cash flow. You've got your income, which is the money that's coming into your business. Now, some people call that revenue. Revenue and income are basically interchangeable terms. And then you've got your expenses, the things that cost you to run your business. So, for example, for most people these days, that would be a website, any kind of tools that they use to run their business. Those types of things would be considered expenses. And also, if your business is paying you, which it should be paying you, then your paycheck is an expense of your business. And then the last thing we have is profit. And that's one of the most important things. When you have profit in your business, it's income minus expenses equals whatever's left over, and that's your profit. Now, your profit can be used to pay out to yourself, or it can be used to reinvest in your business and grow your business or buy some extra thing that's going to help your business run better. So you've got income, expenses, and profit. Those are the three components of cash flow for your business. And that's when people's eyes normally glaze over when you start talking like that.
So is there a way to talk about it not to make people's eyes glaze over?
Well, yes and no. Income, think about the people that love you, and want to pay you money. You could think about it in those terms. The people that love the way you do things, they love the way you talk, they love the way you act, they love your personality. And they love you so much that they want to shower you with riches. So you could think of incomes that way. And then for your expenses, you could think about it as, well, I have to dress a certain way or look a certain way or have certain things in order for these people to love me so much. So that could be another way to look at it.
That's awesome. Again, it's about mindset shift, it sounds like.
Yes. Well, and unfortunately, most of the people in our country, I know you probably have an international audience, but in the U.S., most of the people in the U.S. are raised not to talk about money. So when you have people that go into business for themselves and they've been conditioned not to talk about money, it makes it even tougher for them because you have to be able to talk about money if you're in business. You have to, tell people what your prices are. You have to be able to negotiate goods and services for your business. So you have to pay people money. Money is a regular part of the conversation. So if you have issues with money, with asking for money or with getting good value for the money that you spend, it's going to be a real challenge for anyone that has those kind of issues.
I see. And so why is cash flow so important in someone's business? I know we talked about this already, but do you want to talk about it a little bit more?
Well, it just shows the health of your business. One of the things that I talked about earlier is that cash flow is not math. It's about the story of your business. So, and most businesses have peaks and valleys. So let's say, for example, that you're doing a major marketing push. Your cash flow, when you look at it, can tell you how much effort in terms of money it costs you in order to get so much return. So your cash flow with those peaks and valleys tells you how healthy that particular effort was and how successful you were in that effort. You can actually look at your cash flow and say, oh, wow, that thing did a really good promotion for our business. We should do that again. Or this particular promotion didn't work very well for my business at all. I either better not do that or I better adjust it before I do another promotion the next time.
I see. Yeah, I think that's so important. Because cash flow does give you, I think it does give you that clarity because you look at the numbers and it tells you how well you're doing, how well you're not doing in your business.
Right, right. And one of the tools that I created years ago, and a friend of mine introduced me to this way back when I was early in my business, and he always called it the peace of mind, tool. And I just say, well, it helps you sleep better at night. But it's called a cash flow worksheet, and the name, probably would turn a bunch of people off because all of a sudden they'll go into numbers again. But a cash flow worksheet where you keep track of all of the money that is spent in your business, and you put in an outlook of what you might be spending in the future, and you put in a target amount of money that you want to have every single month consistently in your business. You take a big picture view of looking forward about the cash in your business, what you expect to be bringing in, what you expect to have going out, and what your actual target is as far as minimum amount of money you want to have in your business. And it gives you the peace of mind knowing that you're going to have enough money to survive with a bunch of stuff left over in order to do what you want with your business. So a cash flow worksheet is really a good idea for most people, mainly because it gives you an at-a-glance look at, geez, what's going on in my business and what do I have coming up? How many times have you had something in your business? Maybe it's insurance or a big subscription, maybe your email service provider subscription, come up and go, oh my gosh, I didn't know that was going to be due. And your whole financial budget wasn't prepared for it. Well, if you do a cash flow worksheet, then you'll know that that's coming up. You'll know you have to have that money in your account in order to take care of it. So it's a way to proactively look at what's going to be going on in your business so that you can be prepared for it and make any kind of adjustments necessary.
That's great. So why and how small business owners run into issues with cash flow?
Number one, they don't pay enough attention to what's going on. They just think that the problem's going to solve itself. The small business owners that I've seen get into trouble is just because they haven't paid enough attention to it. I worked with one organization. It was a couple of guys that owned not a staging business, but a small deli. And the way they monitored their cash flow is they checked to see how much money they had in their checking account when they were getting ready to write a check. So that's not the way to manage the cash in your business. But unfortunately, a lot of small business owners do that. And they didn't keep track of what they were spending and what they were bringing into their company. At the end of the year, when it came time to do their taxes, they took this shoebox full of invoices and receipts to their accountant and said, here, do our taxes. So it's mainly just burying your head in the sand and not paying attention to what's going on in your business. It was interesting. I was talking to a young woman the other day who she hadn't been in business for a very long time, and she's going, oh, I'm so upset this week. I've got to take time to send out all of my invoices. And she says, this is such a drag. And I'm going, why is sending out invoices such a drag for you? I said, you should be doing a happy dance. Sending out invoices means that people love you and you're going to have a bunch of money coming into your business. Money's exciting. That means your business is healthy. So I just told her, I said, every time you're getting ready to do an invoice, do a little happy dance and say, people love me. People want to give me all sorts of money. And that'll be a shift for you, and it won't seem like such drudge work to you. But it's back.
Totally agree.
Yeah, it's back to that same thing, that same mind shift thing. So, but a lot of people think about it that way, just because of it's just the block there when it comes to relating it back to math, which is the real shame of it. I just want to do my creative work. Well, we all have to do things that we don't like, and it's exciting to get money in your business. I mean, that should be an exciting time. So if it's just shifting the mind work on it, then that makes a whole lot of difference.
No, I agree with that because a lot of my students in my program complain about doing paperwork, like contracts and invoices. I'm like, paperwork is actually sexy because it protects your company and get you money. So
yes.
And it helps you not to lose money. So it's actually a very, very good thing to have, even though they might not look like the sexiest thing, but they're actually awesome. So I think, yeah, I totally agree with the mindset change. A lot of time it just to look at things in a different way. And it's very true. Like you should be very happy when you're billing someone because you're going to get money back in a few weeks or, a few days. And that's
right.
Really exciting. So how do you know if you have a healthy cash flow or not? Are there specific numbers are you looking for or specific trouble areas that, might raise a red flag?
It's actually personal. What your number is a personal thing, and it depends on why you have the business that you have. That's one of the things about what's really cool about being in business for ourselves is we can strive to be the multimillionaire and have tons and tons of money coming in our business, or we can strive to have a smaller, more personal business where we bring in enough money that we can live a comfortable lifestyle and do the things that we want to do. So it really depends on what you want your business to do for you. Everybody is talking freedom businesses and having the life that we love. Well, that's the whole idea behind it. So you have to figure out, what does that mean to me? How much money do I need coming in order for me to have the dream that I want to have? And sit down and figure out those numbers. How much it costs you to live? What are the things that you want to be able to do? What do you want the business to provide for you? And then set some targets there, and then that's your end goal. And then what you have to do is decide, okay, what are my prices going to be? How much of these things am I going to have to do in order to achieve that end goal? So you kind of back into it that way.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's very similar to my approach as well. I think that if you don't understand what you want out of your business and out of your life, it's really difficult because if you don't have that clarity, you won't know what kind of goal to realistically set for yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And then one of the biggest contributors to cash flow is our income. So how do you figure out the best pricing to charge our clients?
Well, the best pricing can vary from business to business because pricing is tied directly to target market. You need to decide, are you going to be the Walmart? Are you going to be the Saks Fifth Avenue? Or are you going to be somewhere in between? Because every single one of those places has a tolerance for a certain price level. So if you tie it back to whatever your end goal is going to be and whoever you're most comfortable working around and for, that's where you can establish your pricing. Now, you need to do some research. You'll need to talk to who your target market is and identify what their price threshold is and what they can tolerate. It wouldn't hurt to survey the landscape of service providers that serve the same market you're planning to serve and see what their rates are. But I want to add a little caution there too, because just because the people that you're in competition with are charging a certain price, that doesn't mean you have to charge that price. You need to charge the price that your target market will bear. So you could use it as input in setting your prices, but your prices are personal to you because even though you might offer a similar service to someone else, there's only one you. So everybody brings their own personal thing to their business. So even if you do exactly the same service as somebody else, it's still not going to be exactly the same.
I really love that because I think that's one of the struggle I have in terms of conversation with stagers, especially new stagers that email me about pricing. Most people want this magic bullet number. They just want to know, well, exactly how much percentage should be my profit margin, or, what is the best way to charge the most price. But the thing is, like you said, it's actually a very personal decision because everybody wants very different things out of life. And so, and that's the other thing too. I think it's interesting because I have had speakers on this show who's a business coach talk about, in terms of pricing, you should not look at what your competitors are charging. And a lot of times people they're really hang up on what their competitors are doing. And so they kind of get stuck in this pricing hell because they're always competing with this other person's number, whereas their service could be very different, what their target market could be very different, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, and that's the whole thing. That's why I said you need to take it into consideration, but that shouldn't be the major portion of your decision. The major portion of your decision should be what your target market tells you. What I see happening all too often, byproduct of the online world, is people will go into online forums and they'll be thinking about going into business. They'll be in an online forum where they think their target market exists. And they'll ask people in that online forum would they be willing to pay for X service, or what would they be willing to pay for some certain product. And then they take that information and they base all their business decisions on it. And that is the hugest mistake in the world, because just asking people in an online forum what they would do is totally different than speaking with someone voice to voice or face to face and getting an answer, because everybody's working from their own ideas about what you're asking. And it's so totally different than actually having a one-on-one conversation with somebody. So that's the biggest mistake that I see small business owners make, is they throw out questions in an online forum and everybody answers from their own perspective. And so then they run with that information and then they find out way too late, when they're already into it, that, oh, well, that's not really what the answer was anyways. So you'll get much better answers in developing your pricing if you actually talk one-on-one with the people who are your target market. It takes more time, but in the long run, it's going to benefit your business a whole lot more because you're going to get the true answers from people.
I agree with that. I think that's why it's so tricky, because you may not get the right or the straight answer out of people.
Right.
And the issue is that I think a lot of times when it comes to pricing conversation, a lot of people are fearful to be completely truthful in terms of what they're looking at. And same thing, you get the same thing with clients as well. Clients are always going to say, well, our budget is really, really low, because they don't want you to charge a high price, if you realize that they have a huge amount of budget or something like that. People always want to pay the least amount of money, so they're going to be very conservative in terms of what they're comfortable paying you for the service. And so I think for people like us, where, in our industry, we're putting estimate in, and, it's actually a bit of upfront work, because you have to visit someone in their home and then talk to them about their situations and then, submit an estimate. And so a lot of times people are very fearful with that conversation, and it becomes a very sensitive topic to talk about. And so there's no transparency really within the industry. So yeah, and so I think that's why a lot of people in my particular industry struggle with pricing a lot, because people don't really know what exactly they should do when it comes to pricing.
I think that they just need to have faith in their own ability and their own value. And, some of the things that you can do in order to support whatever you've decided your pricing is going to be is, number one, create raving fans out of your previous clients. The value that you offer is so exponentially wonderful that they tell all their friends about you. So that, that takes a lot of the pricing argument out of the equation. If you've got, if you've got a friend that you ask for a referral from, and they tell you, that they just love this particular person and they were so happy and they got, X amount of thousands of dollars more out of their home because that person staged it for them, then what are you going to do? You're going to likely to do business with that person. And even if the price is a little bit more than your budget, well, you're going to be thinking about how much more value that person got for you, as opposed to your budget, being focused on your budget. What you really want to do is move the discussion away from money and shift it over to value. What are the things that they're going to get out of you doing this service for them? And what problem are you solving for them? If you focus on the outcomes as opposed to the tasks that are going to be done, I think that you can be more successful in having the pricing discussion.
I totally agree with that. I think that is an incredibly good point, and it's very valuable because I think a lot of times when it comes to pricing, we do operate out of fear. And that's why a lot of times, I've done this as well. I mean, before I send out a proposal, I'm like, ooh, maybe that is too high. You're talking yourself out of charging the price that you should be charging because you think, oh, maybe the client would think it's too high or whatever it is. There's like all these stories that are attached to the conversation of pricing. And so the whole process becomes a very scary thing because people feel like, oh my God, what if I screw this up, or what if they think I'm too high, blah, blah, blah. And then we kind of put ourselves into this hell in a way because we get upset because we're not charging what we're worth, but we get scared when we are charging what we're worth.
Yep, absolutely. It happens. Well, and here's something to try on too. I don't know if anybody in the staging business does this, but consider charging a fee to do a proposal. Just a small fee. Meeting with the client and spending time with them in order to get all of the proper information to do an adequate value-based quote for them. And that solves two problems. Now you're going to have people that would push back on that client. Well, so-and-so didn't charge me for this. Well, I spend this value-based time with you so that I can find out exactly what your issues are, exactly what outcomes you're looking for, and so that I can make sure 100% and hit the nail on the head for you. So there's a way to do it. It might be something that some people might want to just try on and consider. Charging for doing an interview so that you ultimately can create better proposals. It's kind of a radical idea.
No, I agree with that. I actually charge to go out to make proposals because I'm tired of people who are calling me and just want to have a free proposal and want free advice.
Sure.
And it was the quickest way to weed out people who are not serious, and people who do not value my expertise. Because everybody loves free stuff, right? Like, Sure, free things. Why don't you come over and spend an hour at my house and we can chat? But the thing is, when you're a business owner, your time is money. Your time is very valuable. And once you spend it, you can't get it back. That's the thing with time, is that it's a luxury really, because once you spend your time, it's never going to come back. You can't buy it. You can't, save it to use it later on. You just can't. It's gone. It's gone. And so you have to be very fierce when it comes to protect your own time, because your time is very valuable. And once we start charging actually for proposal, things really change for us. You're going to get the naysayer. Some realtors were a bit mean about it, but then I know that they're not my right clients. So I don't care if they hung up on me.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Well, and I don't know. There's so many types of services that don't charge until they actually start being contracted with you, which when you think about it from a small business perspective, that's the path to cash flow failure. You cannot work for free and expect to have a successful business. And the way I like to explain it to people that really seems to work for them is, how many times have you walked into a grocery store, bought a bunch of groceries for some elaborate meal, walked out and told the cashier on the way out, I'm going to go try this, and if I like it, I'll come back and pay you. And if I don't like it, well, I just got me a free meal. Well, that would be absurd in order to have an expectation like that. But from a service provider's perspective, so many people expect that meal, that whole conversation to be free and not have to pay until you actually do something. But it doesn't work that way. You can't do it. I'm glad to hear that you charge for proposals, and I hope that more people do, because it's a shift that you have to get over in your head, but it's so worth it, because just like you said, you cannot get that time back, and it'll be a killer. Because if you spend one whole day a week, which you need to spend a good amount of your time marketing your business, if you spend, say, one whole day a week doing that, that's one whole day you can't get back. And you didn't bring any cash into your business, and it's not helping your cash flow any.
No, but I'm glad that you feel the same way, because, I think one of the things that will really change a lot of issues that I think homestagers have is actually to charge for consultations for the initial appointment. Not necessarily consultation. It's just for a home visit, for an estimate. I think people should charge, because it's absolutely 100% of their time. They're going out there. I mean, it's just not like time on site. It's like, I used to live in San Francisco Bay Area. To go anywhere is at least 30 minutes one way. And some areas are 40, 45, not to mention I have to look for parking. So I usually have to leave an hour prior to appointment. And so that's all time I'm not going to get back. And, your time is limited. So once you spend it, that means I have to take time from somewhere to make up that lost time. And oftentimes that's my private time that I'm taking out from. And so I made a very conscious decision. I remember going on this appointment, and the house itself was like a maze, and the realtor basically just tried every move, would not let me leave until I gave her some information. I was there for a good 45 minutes. And I got back to my car. I remember I was just like, this is really the last straw. I would not do this ever again, because clearly that realtor had no intention to hire me except to get free information out of me. Yep. And so I made a conscious decision then. And then so we set up this, official email. I actually took the phone number off my website. So the only way people can contact me was through a form on our website. And so during the form, we actually made it very clear that, in order for us to come onto an estimate, we do charge. But during that time, they can ask me anything that they want. And if they end up hiring us, they get a credit back for their actual project. I mean, the other thing too is that I remember our family dog had a broken tooth. And then so the vet is like, well, you can take her to get a root canal. It's a little ridiculous when we entertain the idea, because the way the vet puts it, it's like, she could have a blood infection, and that could be very tricky, et cetera, et cetera. But the thing is that the pet dentist charges for an appointment, because it's their time. And it's the same thing with the plumber. If you call a plumber to come out to your house, it doesn't matter. It's, they're on the clock. They're going to charge you for their expertise. Yep. So it's the same thing, especially if you're a home design professional, you spend a good amount of education to build up your expertise. Your time is worth it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, that's interesting that you give them a credit if they hire you. And that's a great approach to do it that way, because it gives them some incentive, and that's a personal decision. Another way that you could go about recouping your time is just by raising your fees really high. You know, I believe that you should be paid for all your time. So I believe in the paid proposal approach. I think that's a good one. But there's other people that just chalk it up to cost of doing business and they add it into their rates. So it all depends on your target market too. But there's so much free information out there, and we've conditioned people to getting free stuff way, way, way before they have to pay something. That I think that's kind of worked in reverse for small business owners and been a detriment to small business owners. And so many think that, oh my gosh, I've got to really up my free game before I can ever start charging, and it puts people out of business. It just really does, because they've got so much free stuff that they're giving away that people don't want to give them money in order to pay for the information. So it's really worked against us, in a lot of ways.
And I agree. And same thing with giving out discount all the time. I remember I used to have a Gap card, and I think every week I'll get some sort of email about how this is 30% off, that is 60% off. And then so after a while, you're just kind of like, well, why would I pay anything full price at Gap? If all you're going to do is discount it, maybe I just wait 1 week, it's going to come down anyway.
Yeah. I think sales are, that's just like Black Friday week, and after Christmas sales and all those kind of things. We get conditioned to those things, just like you said. And so we wait to buy. Well, we as small business owners can't fall into that pattern because we don't have the buffer that larger companies have in order to be able to deal with the discounts. So we do not want to train our customers only to buy when things are on sale. So you want to be really, really careful about doing that. And that comes down to other types of discounts too. If there's your customer looks at the proposal and says, well, gosh, can you lower the price a little bit? Sometimes people will just say, well, sure, I can lower the price. But I tell people, never lower the price unless you take something comparable away. You should never, ever change the price on an offer that you've made to somebody unless you reduce the offer.
That's a really brilliant point, because the thing is, if you give people a discount every time they ask for it, they're just going to ask discount all the time.
Sure. Of course they are. Of course they are. It was so funny. I needed some stuff hauled away the other day. And so I put a search out on a neighborhood group, and I got like 3 different proposals. And this one lady told me a price and told me that she could come on a certain day. Well, that day didn't work for me. So I went with somebody else. And then she came back to me and she lowered her price by 20%. And I mean, I never asked her to do that. She must have thought that I didn't go with her on price. But that was silly, because the first thing that crossed my mind was, well, if you were willing to do it for that price, why didn't you give that to me as your first price? So.
Did you end up hiring her?
I did not hire her. I hired somebody else. Yeah. Somebody else came in lower than she did, initially. If she'd have come in at that price initially, I may have hired her, So she really shot herself in the foot by doing it that way. But, as small business owners, especially service providers, we have to not lower our prices unless we're taking away a service, because people have to equate that value to the money that they're paying. And if you offer it to them for one price and then they balk and you say, oh, okay, well, I'll do it for less, what have you just done to yourself? It's awful. You have chopped down the value that you offer to a customer, and you would never want to do that. Your time is valuable, your expertise is valuable. What you provide to people and the outcomes that you provide to them is something very, very valuable. And some of the stuff is like future tangible. It's intangible right now. For example, if not using their services, they might be able to make, X hundred of thousands of dollars on their house. But using your services, they could make 10 times that on their house. So that value it's intangible right now, but it's tangible when they ultimately sell their house. And that's one of the things that needs to be considered when you're talking about your pricing too. What's the future value that you have provided to that customer and in whatever it is that you're doing for them? You've made that sale of their house better because of the work that you did. You brought more money into their pocket. So you need to consider that value when you're doing the pricing too, not just what your market will bear and what everybody else is charging. I had a conversation with a young lady the other day, and it was the same young lady who was looking at how much people in her competitive arena charged. And I said, who cares? Be the pack leader. Don't be the follower. Don't follow what everybody else is doing. Be the pack leader. Set the stage. Be the one who everybody else wants to follow. You don't have to be just like everybody else, and nobody is like everybody else. We're all different. We all bring something different to the table.
I think that's such a good point. I mean, that's what it really frustrates me sometimes in the teaching space, because I just encounter so many students or potential students. They are just really struggling because I think there's this fear that they feel like they have to drop their price in order to get the bid. And I always say no, because it's not a win-win situation. The only winner in the scenario is the client. It's not you, because you're letting them lead you and dominate you in the conversation or pricing. But what you should be talking about is how much money, how much value you're going to bring to the table. Exactly. And so I love the way you said it. It's about mindset. If you frame the mindset to make it all about money, then the client is only going to see the money. They're not going to see the value that you're bringing to the table. And so I think you really hit the nail on the head on that one. I think it's such an important point to make when it comes to pricing.
Yeah. And we control that conversation when we're having that conversation with a prospective client. So, if we're talking money, then they're going to be focused on money. If we're talking value and problem solving, they're going to be focused on value and problem solving. So we're the ones who are leading the discussion, and we need to remember that. So we have to have strength in what we bring to the table so that it comes across that way when we're dealing with a prospective client. And then, I'm not going to say that money will never be an issue, because money can always be an issue. But there'll be less situations like that if you focus on the value and the problem solving and making sure that you're working with the right target market. And if you find yourself in a position where you're constantly sparring with people about the price of things, then maybe you are focused on the wrong target market. Maybe you need to shift a little bit. Maybe you've grown enough that your target market has changed. Or maybe your target market has changed and you didn't make a consideration of the change that's happened with them. So you've got to always be mindful of that too, because as we grow and improve in our businesses, it's really easy for us to shift to a different market, serving a different market. Maybe we started out on the lower end, which some people do. And because of the way we've grown and the kind of customers that we're serving, we've actually upped our game a bit. So we need to be mindful of that and look at it on a regular basis and assess our businesses and make sure that we are still serving the way that we want to be serving.
I think that's a really good point. I think one of the things that you really hit the nail on the head again is that the time do change. Your marketplace does change, and who you are, what kind of business you run also changes as well through time. So it's important to be mindful of those factors as well when it comes to pricing and also, pushing your business forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
Go ahead, sorry.
Well, I was just going to say it's really important that at least on an annual basis, you step back and look at your business and say, where are we now? And is this where we want to be? Am I where I thought I would be a year ago? Am I serving the way I want to serve? What do I want to do differently? Just do a quick assessment of your business. Sometimes we get so stuck in the work that we're doing, we forget to do that. But if you put a stake in the ground and say every January or every June or whatever slow month there is, that you're going to step back and really take a look at your business and see, is it working the way I want it to be working? Is it not only serving my clients, but is it serving me? Is it doing what I want to do? Is it giving me the life that I thought I wanted to have? And then make adjustments accordingly. Then you will actually grow along with your business, and potentially your cash flow will grow along with that too.
I think that's a really great point. And so is there any good time when it comes to raising your price? And also, how do you tell your client that you're raising your price?
That's a really hard one, right? For a lot of people. Yeah, it is. I would say, well, you can raise your prices at any time. I would say you need to raise your prices when you're too busy. That means that your prices are too low if you're too busy.
True.
So you need to raise your prices when you're too busy. That's really one key factor. Another is, what if your expenses have increased for your business, but your income hasn't increased? Then that would be a good time to raise your prices. Maybe you've got to have some specific software or some specific product in order to service your clients properly, and that's added an expense item to your business. That would be a good time to raise your prices too. But it's one of those things that you need to look at least annually and, say, is it time? And if you've got existing clients, then you just need to tell them that you're raising your prices as of such and such a date. No apologies. Oh, that's the worst. Women are the worst for that. Apologizing for raising their prices. So don't apologize. There's no need to apologize because you're offering value to your customer. Just say, as of such and such a date, this service will be X amount of money. Boom, done. That's all there is to it. Simple conversation.
And then, so do you always tell your client that you're raising your price, or should you just raise it and not tell them?
Well, if you have a client that you're regularly doing business with and they're used to paying you a certain amount of money, then yes, you need to tell them. If it's somebody that you just sporadically do business with, then no, I don't see any need to tell them until you do business with them the next time.
Yeah. No, that's what people ask a lot, actually. But for me, it's not like Target is going to email me and tell me that they raised $1 on the socks.
You got it.
So yeah. I feel like if it's awkward for you to bring it up, so why even bring it up? And
sure.
For me, I usually, when I raise the price, I usually do it over the new year because that's a natural time for people to raise prices usually. Clients ask are just like, well, I'm sorry, expenses gone up, labor's gone up, and they understand because they are business people too. That's usually a good excuse to raise price. And then how should we raise our prices? Do you do it by a percentage each time, or do you just look at your cash flow statement and kind of determine your profit margin kind of thing?
Yeah, I would look at my cash flow, and don't just look at the numbers. Look at the health of your business overall, and put yourself into the equation and ask, am I getting the lifestyle that I want to get out of my business? So that's the intangible factor. So you've got to make sure that you've taken that into consideration too.
No, I love that because I feel like ultimately we have a business to serve our lifestyle and not the other way around. And I feel very strongly about that because I used to sacrifice a lot of my personal life in order to have, uh, in order to run my company. And it's actually very unhealthy. So that's why, like, when I teach saging, I really want to teach from a place where people understand the ultimate goal of their business is really to serve their lifestyle, their life, and it's not really there to take time away from things that are important in life, like your family.
Exactly. I mean, they could go work for somebody else and have that, you
Right.
know? I mean, the sole purpose for people to go in business for themselves is to be able to do the things that they want to do and to be able to have the life that they want. And if you're serving your business, if your business isn't serving you, then you don't have something set up quite properly. Now, granted, it's not all hearts and roses. There's going to be tough times. It just happens when you're in business for yourself. But your focus should always be on your business serving you, not you serving your business.
I totally agree with that. And so here's the tricky thing too. So how do you deal with clients who price shop or want to bargain your price every time?
Well, number one, if people are price shopping, they're not your target market, in my opinion. You just have to put your stake in the ground and say you don't do that. You know,
Great.
Easier said than done, but
Yes.
it's just and if you're starving for money, it's really hard to do. But you just have to put your stake in the ground, because if you consistently allow people to price shop you, you are going to be consistently price shopped. Remember, you've got to change the focus to value. So if somebody tries to price shop you, then you need to turn the discussion around to value. And if somebody's going to want you to do a bargain or make a change, just like I said earlier, don't make a change to your price without taking away part of the service. Never, ever do that.
I totally agree with that. And I think that's a really good point. I think that's the thing. Like you said, it's easier said than done because
Yep.
when you feel like you need a job, you're compelled to say yes. But I think one of the things people don't realize is that when you're taking on jobs, it's also opportunity cost. Because if you're busy on this job, even though it's not ideal, but a better one comes along, but because you're busy with this job and now you just lost the opportunity to work with a client that actually understands your value.
Exactly.
And so I understand it's hard, but it's something that, people should really take into heart, that when clients come and bargain, a lot of times people just ask for the sake of asking. They don't actually expect you to lower the price. It's human nature. People are going to ask. But if you actually say yes, it better be a darn good reason.
Right.
There needs to be return on investment for you. Just because somebody promise and say, oh, I mean, if you, lower the price this time, we'll keep booking you. That's not true. When potential clients say that to me, I was like, sure, we have an agreement for a long-term VIP, price level. If you can deliver X amount of jobs to us per year, we can give you at this price range. But the agreement also says if you cannot, we will be charging you for the remainder.
Mm-hmm. Good. That's good. And those are the kind of boundaries and agreements that you need to set up in your business. Service businesses really get a rap when it comes to that kind of stuff, because there's so many businesses that nobody would think of bargaining with. It's just like you said with the Target thing. Nobody would think to go into the grocery store and go through the checkout line and for the cashier to tell you what the total is and then for you to suggest another price. I mean, they'd laugh right in your face, wouldn't they? So why do we think we as service providers should do that when somebody asks us? We just have to be brave. It comes from a place of fear. It really does come from a place of fear. So you have to be really strong in what you offer and the valuable outcome that you're going to provide to your clients. and standing strong. And it's exactly what you said. When, the minute that you're doing work for less than what you are worth is when that big, wonderful, perfect job is going to come along that you can't do because you're already doing work for somebody else. It never fails for that to happen.
Same with dating, I gotta tell you.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
No, but I totally agree. And you brought a really good point with boundary is that I think with my business, I had struggled through all these type of client pricing issues. But when I was very, very firm and really had a very strong boundary with my business, that's really when the client stopped misbehaving.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned that if you let client misbehave, they will misbehave. They're in a lot of different ways. They're like little children. Mm-hmm. If they see an opportunity to misbehave, they will misbehave. If they know that you're going to cave in and say yes to a discount every time, they're going to ask for a discount every time. And if you're okay with them paying late, or even though you're not okay, but on the paper, you're like, oh, it's fine, just pay me when you can. They are going to pay late every single time.
Oh,
so
sure,
I think
they will.
A lot of times really is that we are allowing our clients to become bad clients. Mm-hmm. So I think that's an issue that people really have to be aware of as well. You have to watch out for your own behavior to make sure that you're not spoiling them in a way that they're going to become bad clients.
Exactly, because we get back what we send out. So now in your industry, is it normal to do the work and then get paid, or are there other opportunities for different billing situations?
Well, so most of the time people get paid upfront. So either they take a deposit or they take the payment upfront. There are new renewal because a lot of times, say we stage a vacant home where we're moving in all the inventory, that bill might be settled later on. But most of the time, the bulk of the staging investment will be paid before the job starts. But here's the thing: the issue is that some people feel that I have done this when I was a young stager. So they feel like they really, really want this job. So they would bend over backward for the client. And oftentimes that could mean that they did not get a signed contract or they did not get paid before their job is completed. So, and that is tricky because once you cave in what clients want, it's going to be very difficult for you to get what you want. And then So some people fell into this purgatory where they have to keep calling people for money.
Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. I'm glad to hear that it's a get paid upfront type of service, because that's what I advocate really for pretty much any service business. That you get, if you don't get paid 100% upfront, you get paid at least a certain portion, a big chunk of it upfront. And that's where so many service providers make the mistake, because they set those boundaries and then they cave. Right. And so that's what happens. That's what causes problems. And 9 times out of 10, whenever I'm having a discussion with somebody about payment issues, I ask them, what was in your contract? Well, it wasn't in the contract, or we didn't sign the contract. Or it was in the contract, but I gave them a break this time because I felt bad for them. It's always, always about those boundary issues and not having the right things in place. And you just can't do that. You just can't. I totally understand a business that is not doing its optimum. I've been in those situations too with my business. And I know that it can be really scary to be in that position. But you don't do yourself any favors when you let somebody come crashing through the walls that you've set up to protect your business. You've just set yourself up for the same type of scenario down the road, because if you've done it once, you're going to do it again, just like you said.
Yeah. And then I think one of the really good word that you brought up is that they feel bad and then so they caved.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, we are running a business. So it doesn't matter if you feel bad. At the end of the day, it's still a business. I don't
Yeah.
want to sound too harsh about this, but I am a bit harsh about this because in my experience that every time I bend the rule for a client because I feel bad, usually it backfires on me, not on them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's right.
And this has included that clients skip the town and not pay the bill. And so we didn't get paid, that kind of thing. I mean, I made that mistake early on in my career and I pretty much never make that again. Because I've learned that the hard way is that you have to set that boundary with your client. And also when you put your foot down to set your boundary, it shows that you're a professional because professionals has boundary. You don't walk into a bank and be like, hey, can I just take $10,000 from anyone's account?
Right.
No, you can't. There is a procedure. If you want to withdraw money, they check your ID and, do all the stuff. It's not like they can just let you withdraw from anyone's account. I mean, there's certain procedure in that. And that's part of being a professional. And so even though if you feel bad, that's fine. But don't bend your rule to, give them a better outcome. And then usually most of the time, unless it's the extraneous circumstances, most of the time, usually it get yourself into trouble because you bent that rule.
Exactly. And that just goes back to the very first thing we talked about, and that's mindset. It's mindset that drives that completely. So, you have to have strength and belief in yourself in order for you to be able to stand up for yourself. And if it's like we talked about earlier, focusing on the value more than the price. If anybody does anything out of this conversation, but get that they need to focus on value instead of price, because focusing on value will ultimately help you get the best price for your services, then that would be wonderful. If they only get that one thing out of it, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And so how do you make your clients love paying you?
Then you got to solve their problems. Make their life easy. Everybody's busy these days. So make their life easy, solve the problems that they think they have in their life, make things flow good, be one less little nagging issue that they have to deal with.
That's very, very true. I love that. And so how can a small business owner improve the lifetime value of a customer?
Well, first of all, have customers that love you. Create raving fans out of those customers by really kicking it out of the ballpark when you're providing your services. And make sure that you leverage those customers and get referrals from them. You can't just sit back and wait for customers to come to you. In today's world, you have to market, market, market. And the easiest way to market your business is through referrals from customers who love you and who are your raving fans. So you have to actively pursue that. And the more people that refer business to you, the higher their lifetime value becomes. So with if you have a single customer who over the life of them doing business with you refers you 5 customers, and each one of those customers pay you $10,000, and then each one of those customers brings you 5 more referrals, then you continue to just increase the lifetime value of that initial customer because of the extra cash that they brought in your door via referrals.
Right. And so for our type of work, the money is not always steady. I think especially service industry, there's peak and valleys. And so there are a lot of factors that can influence our income. So what are some of the things that us small business owners can do to make sure that we're always generating income and stay black on the books?
Well, and every service business has peaks and valleys. So there's a couple of different ways you can look at it. You can look at making as much money as you possibly can during your peak season so that it carries you through the valleys. That's one way. Or another way is to diversify your services. Maybe during the off season, you offer your services to a different market, or possibly you do something vertical from working one-on-one with clients. You might offer workshops, face-to-face workshops, online workshops. You could always create an online training course that people could take. This could be one that people take on their own, or it could be one where you actually work with a group of students. So those are some of the options. You need to know, number one, what your cash flow looks like. And that's what a cash flow worksheet's going to do for you. It's going to tell you where your peaks and valleys are. You might know that, but it's better to have proof that that's the situation. And then you can accommodate those peaks and valleys by either bringing in that extra business during your peak times so that you can weather the valley times, or you can create those vertical services in order to accommodate your cash flow during those downtimes.
That's great. I love that. And then where can people find this cash flow worksheet?
Okay. All they have to do is just go to deniseoberry.com/cash flow worksheet, all one word. It'll take them to a shareable Google Doc, and all they've got to do is make a copy of it and start filling in their information.
Oh, that's great. I'm going to pull that and then put on the show notes so people can link to that.
Great.
And so in your book, you mentioned using a hidden cash resource to grow their business. Can you elaborate on that? How can we find cash in our business? And what are some of the hidden cash resources? And how can we use them to grow businesses?
Okay. Well, all of us do things because that's the way we've always done them in our business. And as our businesses grow, as we've talked about earlier, things change. And so we constantly want to look at, are we using the right tools? Are we paying for things that we shouldn't be paying for in our business? Are we using the proper payment processes in order to collect the right amount of cash in our business? Are we staying on top of our receivables if people are paying us? Are we accepting credit cards? Are we getting the best bang for our buck for whatever fees we have to pay on credit cards? On the flip side of that, are we paying our bills too soon? Is there a way that we can improve our cash resources by paying our bills a little bit differently? Maybe paying them 15 days later than we've been used to paying them, or paying them in chunks rather than paying them in full. So you want to look at the way your business is running, number one, what tools and resources you use, and look at your incoming money and your outgoing expenses to see if there's things that you can adjust in order to make the actual outcome, your profit, look a little bit better. So also, you want to make sure that your systems in your business are working the right way, that the way you're actually getting stuff done in your business is the most efficient way. There's so many, technology is just truly our friend in small business. There's so many smart techies out there that come up with really neat stuff that help us do things easier in our business when we've been doing them manually. We can actually replace it with an app that'll do it for us that doesn't cost us a whole lot of money. So going back to what we talked about earlier and taking a look at what's going on in your business, what went well, what could you do better, looking at your systems and processes, looking at how you're bringing money in and how money's going out of your business. Those are the things that we tend not to look at, where money can hide and you can recoup it in your business. Another key thing to look at, especially in today's world, is we have a really bad habit of signing up for things And those things might have a monthly or an annual fee attached to them. And we might have signed up for something that we no longer use. Maybe we signed up for it 3 or 4 years ago, but we've still been getting billed on it over and over and over again. Those are some of the things that you want to look for in your business too when you're ferreting out those things that might be hidden in your business.
That's great. I think a lot of things that helped to save my business during the recession was trimming the fat very aggressively on our accounts. And a lot of way how I could tell that was by looking at my profit and loss statement.
For sure.
And looking at my financial statements to make sure that we are fully maximizing our budget and then make sure that we're plugging any holes that we may have in our accounts.
Exactly. Well, and technology changes so fast. You can change services and get them, for a lot less expensive than you might have been paying for it. And one of the things that many small business owners forget to look at too, this just drives me nuts, is credit card statements. The ease with which bills come into our business these days. It comes in electronically. It goes automatically out of our bank account. It makes it too easy for us to overlook those kind of things. But you really need to be a detective and look at that kind of stuff and say, what am I being billed for? What am I paying for on a regular basis? I was working with a woman the other day, and she's a 7-figure business, but she's got all of these tools that she doesn't use anymore. Why waste that money? Why let that money go out of your business when it could be going into your profit line? Why pay for a tool that you use on a regular basis monthly when you can pay a less amount of money by getting an annual subscription? So look at that stuff. And it might just be $20 here or there, but $20 adds up over time. And wouldn't you rather have it in your bottom line than somebody else's? I know I would.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, $20 a month, that's $240 a year.
Yeah, for sure.
And that could be paying your utility bills. It could be buying your client gifts, whatever. So, I mean, that quote unquote little money can actually go a very long way.
Absolutely. It's kind of like people who don't pick up pennies when they see them on the sidewalk. I pick up pennies. Pennies are money. All money is valuable. And if you pick up, 1,000 pennies over your lifetime, well, okay. So you got another few bucks in your pocket.
That's great. And then, so let me see. What strategies can we use to make our customers loyal to us, no matter what price points we're charging?
Yeah, it goes back to that old value equation. You just really have got to solve problems.
That's true. I agree with that.
Rid of the head. So they know that when it's going to be taken care of, it's not going to be one of those things they're going to have to spend 15 minutes on the phone or get 20 text messages or, you have to just be the easy person to do business with so that they know that the whole situation is going to be one of those no worries type of situations.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's really the ultimate thing. It's that you want to be taking problems or potential problems off the plate of your clients, and they really appreciate that and will really want to do business with you because you're a problem solver.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what business is about, is serving customers so that you remove those obstacles from their life, whatever it is that's holding them back. So it's all should be focused on outcomes, and focusing on that solves so many other issues. It takes so many other things out of the equation.
It's very true. And so I know one of the most important structures in our businesses is finances. So how do we find the right CPA or bookkeeper to support us?
Oh, gosh, that's hard for some people, really hard for some people. And I'll tell you, I did it wrong when I first started my business. I started business in the late 90s because I didn't know what to do. And so my first two accountants were not all stars. We'll just say that.
Mm.
And so what you need to do is you need to do your homework when you're looking for an accountant. Not all of them are created equal. You may need a certified public accountant or CPA. You may need somebody who doesn't have a CPA but is an accountant, or you may just need a bookkeeper. You need to decide what's going to serve your business best, and you need to question them accordingly. So you need to find out, have they worked with businesses like yours? Are they familiar with the different unique financial things that come along with your type of business? It's funny, when I was writing my book years ago, I did some interviews with different accountants, and so many of the accountants said to me that the only question that people ask them is, when can you start? And it's no wonder there are so many failed mismatches between small business owners and their accountants, because they're not doing the homework. They just know, I don't want to deal with this stuff. Just take it off my plate and get it done for me. And that's going to cause you more headaches in the long run, because this is a really personal relationship, dealing with the money in your business. So you need to make sure that it's somebody that's going to be compatible with you, in addition to being familiar with the type of business that you run, so that, there's not conflict situations about your type of business and your personality and that type of thing. And you need to make sure that they're actually going to get things done the way they say they're going to get things done. So you want to go through an interview process with them, just like if you were hiring an assistant in your company, because they are working for you. So you want to make sure that you're going to get the right amount of value and the perfect outcome for the price that you're going to pay, so that they solve the problem for you, just like you solve the problems for other people. And I've got a quick interview process that you can use to go through when selecting an accountant. It's a multi-step process, but it'll be well worth the time. And you can find it at deniseoberry.com/interview. It's a blog post there, and just go through the step-by-step process, and it'll help you figure out what you need in an accountant and get one that matches your business properly.
That's great. That's great. Thank you so much. I'll put that in the show notes as well. Okay. And what structures, procedures, or workflow do you recommend small business owners to set up to make sure that they know their financial health at all times?
Well, just do things regularly. Don't be that small business that throws everything in a shoebox and takes it to the accountant once a year. You need to stay on top of your financials at least monthly, and pay attention to what's going on. If you decide to use the cash flow worksheet that I shared with you, just take a quick glance at it, maybe 15 minutes a week. Make sure that it's on track for where you want it to be. Make sure that your business is serving you the way you want it to serve you, and it'll save you lots of hours of heartache in the long run. That's the main thing. Stay on top of what's going on in your business. And remember, it's not about math. It's about the health of your business. So it's important.
That's great. Thank you so much for tonight. My last question for you is that what is the one top tip you're going to give to stagers when it comes to pricing their projects?
Focus on value, outcome, and problem solving.
That's great. Thank you so much again. This was amazing and fantastic. So that's it for today's show. Thank you so much for listening. You want to help and support the show, there are 3 ways to do so. You can leave a review and rating on iTunes. You can share the show on social media, or you can donate to support the hosting costs for the website and the podcast. You can now make a donation through the show notes on the sidebar of our website. So thanks so much again for listening. Have a wonderful week and happy staging. And don't forget to check out our show sponsor. Our show is brought to you by the Staging Assistant. It's more than an inventory system. Manage your leads, your proposals, your clients, and your stage houses on your desktop, tablet, or phone. With the Staging Assistant, you will know what you own, where it is, and when it's returning quickly and easily. Create your design and packing list from the comfort of your home so you can hit the ground running when you go into your warehouse. Created by stagers, specifically for stagers, is the only tool you need to manage your growing staging business. For more information, visit stagingassistant.com.